I was never one to believe in superstitions. I always thought that the fear of the unknown was just a reflection of an unsettled mind, prone to imagining what didn't exist. But something changed that night. It was when I found the video. Or rather, the video found me. I was browsing through an obscure forum on the internet, a place where discussions about the impossible were common, subjects you only come across if you know where to look. I was drawn to an enigmatic link in a post that simply read, "The Last Gravity, the video that should never have been seen." The title didn't immediately catch my attention, but curiosity led me to click. The user who posted it claimed the file had been found deep in the dark web, in a place where files about mysterious disappearances and anomalies were shared. What intrigued me the most was the warning. Watch at your own risk. You may never be the same. It was, without a doubt, something meant to instill fear, something that seemed like a modern urban legend. But what I didn't know at the time was that this was only the beginning of something far more disturbing. The file was available for download. I didn't hesitate. The idea of something forbidden, something that should remain hidden, now being right in front of me, was too tempting. During the minutes it took to download the file, an odd sensation settled in. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was. When the video finally opened, it didn't start with anything grand. It was simple, straightforward. The screen was dark at first, with a faint, whitish mist filling the frame. The first image was of a room lit only by a dim lamp hanging from the ceiling. The setting appeared normal, nothing mysterious. Or at least that's what I thought. The first images left me at ease, like just another amateur recording made by someone trying to document something strange. But soon, the discomfort began to settle in. Suddenly, a shadow passed quickly across the screen. I couldn't make out exactly what it was, but it was enough to make my throat tighten. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was just a corrupted file. But the shadows became more frequent. They started moving in ways that didn't make sense. It wasn't just gravity that didn't apply to reality, but something bigger, something more threatening. The place seemed to be distorting. That's when the post's words started to form in my mind. It should never have been seen. But I didn't stop. Each second seemed to pull something out of me, as if the video had the power to manipulate my perception of reality. I felt like I was being watched, not by a camera, but by something inside the video. Something that knew I was watching. Something that was preparing to show me more. The discomfort grew with each new frame. I knew I should stop. I knew I should leave. But the curiosity was stronger than any fear. The last thing I saw was a face. Not an ordinary face. Something that didn't look human. The video abruptly stopped, and the screen went black. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. What happened next was even stranger. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. The video had ended, but the images lingered in my mind. I wanted to shut off the computer, but something stopped me. A voice in my head whispered, "You're already trapped." It was too late. Whatever had begun in that video, there was no turning back. I tried to ignore what I had seen. I tried convincing myself that it was just a corrupted recording, that nothing I watched was real. But there was something in the images that wouldn't let me be at ease. The feeling that the video wasn't just showing something, it was altering something within me. I felt like I couldn't stop thinking about it, like every detail, every shadow was now embedded in my mind. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of disorientation. The coffee tasted bland, and even the air felt heavier than usual. What had happened the night before left me restless, but I was determined to move on. After all, it had just been a video, or at least that's what I wanted to believe. But soon, I realized it wouldn't be that simple. Something was wrong. As I sat down for breakfast, I glanced out the kitchen window. I felt like the objects around me were different. Not in a huge way, but enough to make me question if my mind was playing tricks on me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was like reality itself was slipping. I tried to brush it off. It's just your mind, I thought. But as the day went on, the effects of the video started to become more apparent. Gravity seemed to change. A fallen leaf floated slowly to the table, defying the laws of nature. I froze. The warm coffee dripped over the edge of my cup as my eyes followed that impossible motion. The spoon I had left on the table was now floating in midair, rising as though it were being pulled by some invisible string. Slowly, it hovered before dropping back to the table with a sharp clink. My body trembled. I didn't know what to do. It was like the video had leaped out of the screen and into my life. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was the tiredness. Maybe a strange dream was spilling into my waking hours. But the doubt, the overwhelming sense that something was wrong, refused to leave me. I looked back at the computer, which was sitting open on the table. Its screen flickered, almost as if calling me back. But I knew better now. I knew I shouldn't watch it again. I knew that if I did, I might never escape it. But the temptation was too strong. I opened the file. This time, when the video started, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't just a simple recording. The screen was filled with distortions, a grey mist enveloping it. The sounds were no longer distant whispers. They were louder, more distinct, like voices that were trying to speak directly into my mind. But I couldn't understand the words. They were muffled, distorted. But there was something else. A presence. I could feel it. The camera in the video now showed a hallway, but this hallway wasn't like any other. It stretched on forever, with walls that seemed to bend in ways that defied physics. Shadows on the walls moved, and not naturally. They seemed to mimic me. The sense of disorientation grew. I felt like I was being drawn into that hallway, that space. The video wasn't just a recording anymore, it was pulling me in. I looked around the room, but everything around me seemed wrong. The light from the window appeared dimmer, the space around me becoming more confined, like I was losing my grasp on reality. And then I realized, the video wasn't just something I was watching, it was watching me. It was manipulating my world, my perception. Before I knew it, I couldn't stop watching. I couldn't look away. Leave a like and share with friends who also love a good mystery. I felt something shift inside me. A coldness crept into my chest, and that's when I understood. Whatever this video was, it was not just a file on a computer. It was something alive, something that could change me. The video flickered. The screen began to warp. It was showing something I wasn't ready to see. And yet, I couldn't stop myself. I needed to see more. I no longer knew what was real and what wasn't. Each passing hour, the line between what I knew and what the video was showing me became blurrier. What once seemed like a mistake in my perception was now becoming something more tangible, as if the world around me was being twisted in ways I couldn't understand. The next morning, I woke up feeling disoriented. The sun barely filtered through the curtains, and the light that came in seemed weaker than usual. I stood up slowly, as if some invisible force was pressing down on me, making it harder to move. It wasn't just fatigue. It felt like the very air was denser, more difficult to breathe. I tried to push the feeling away, but it lingered, as if something was holding me back, stopping me from moving normally. While having my breakfast, I noticed something strange in the kitchen. The spoon I had left on the table was floating slowly upwards, as though being pulled by an invisible string. I froze. The hot coffee spilled over the edge of my cup as my eyes followed the impossible movement. The spoon hovered in the air for a moment before falling back onto the table with a sharp clink. I was shaken. I didn't know what to make of it. It felt as though the video had jumped out of the screen and into my life. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just the tiredness. Maybe I had just woken up from a weird dream. But the doubt, that unsettling sense that something was wrong, never left me. I looked back at the computer, sitting on the table. The screen was flickering, almost calling me back. But I knew better now. I knew that if I watched it again, I might never escape it. I didn't. Listen to myself. I opened the file. This time, the video started differently. It wasn't what I had expected. The screen was no longer just a simple image. It was filled with distortions, a gray mist swirling in and out. The sounds had grown louder, more distinct. Voices that seemed to be coming directly from within my head. But I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was as if they were murmuring something incomprehensible. There was also something else, a presence, as though something was right there, with me. The video now showed a hallway, but it wasn't just any hallway. It seemed endless, the walls bending in impossible ways. Shadows on the walls moved unnaturally, mimicking my own movements. I looked around the room, and it felt like the space itself was shifting, the walls getting closer, the room closing, and I felt the weight of everything pressing on me. I tried to shake the feeling off, but it was impossible. The video was no longer just a recording. It was alive. It was alive, and it was pulling me in. I turned my gaze back to the screen. The walls of the hallway seemed to stretch further and further. I couldn't stop watching. I was trapped. Shadows on the walls weren't just reflections of light anymore. They were something else, something darker, more malevolent. They started to grow and stretch, becoming more distinct, more aware. I felt like I was being drawn into the screen, like the video was somehow consuming me, bit by bit. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a video, this was a force. It wasn't just manipulating the images I was seeing, it was manipulating everything around me. The space I was in, the air I was breathing, the time that was passing. I was no longer watching a video. I was inside it. Before I could even react, the video flickered. The screen went dark for a brief moment, and I thought, perhaps it was over. But then, the next frame appeared. It wasn't just a picture anymore. The face, no, the thing that had appeared earlier, distorted and alien, was now right in front of me. It was in the hallway. It was standing there, staring at me. Drop a comment below telling us what you thought about this story and if you've ever experienced something like it. I tried to shut it off, to get away from it, but I couldn't. The video had a hold on me now, and I was trapped. There was no going back. I no longer knew if I was awake or dreaming. Time, space, everything around me seemed to be falling apart in ways I couldn't comprehend. The video wasn't just a recording anymore. It was my reality, and I was at its mercy. I tried to stand up, but the floor beneath my feet was distorting. Every step I took caused the surroundings to stretch and shrink, as if the very house was warping. I knew I had lost control, and panic mixed with an indescribable feeling of helplessness. Something was happening to my body, to my mind, and I couldn't stop it. The video kept playing on the computer screen, now a mere presence. The images had become faster, more fragmented. I saw flashes of faces I couldn't recognize, shadows moving in unnatural ways. But there was something more, something worse. The video was now seeping into the very structure of the house. I was in a hallway now. I don't know how I got there, but there were no doors, no windows, only walls stretching infinitely. The air was thick, and I felt as though I was being squeezed by an invisible force. The sound now was louder, a repetitive thump like a drum pounding inside my head. Each beat made the walls move, as if time itself was being compressed and expanded simultaneously. I tried to scream, but my voice sounded muffled, as though I were underwater. I didn't know what was real anymore. I looked around, but the shadows on the walls weren't matching my movements. They were distorting, elongating, twisting, creating shapes that seemed to move by themselves. One of them approached me, and I recognized the face that had appeared in the video. The distorted face was now standing right in front of me. I tried to back away, but my legs were frozen. The being, or whatever it was, didn't move. It was just there, staring at me. I was in a state of absolute terror, unable to move, as if trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. Every second that passed seemed to stretch on, as if time itself was dilated. I didn't know how long I had been there staring at that figure, but I knew it was consuming me. That's when something changed on the computer screen. The last frame appeared. The distorted face that had haunted the video was now three-dimensional, projecting itself out of the monitor. The figure on the wall moved, as if reacting to the video. I stepped back, but it was as if space itself had closed in on me. There was no escape. The thumping sound grew louder, faster. I could feel the ground shaking beneath me, and the walls started to move. They were closing in, as if the very space was folding in on itself. I tried to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I was trapped, surrounded by a reality that was crumbling around me. The face on the screen smiled. Not a friendly smile, but something sinister, as if it knew I was lost. A shiver ran down my spine when the screen flickered. The face disappeared momentarily, and in its place appeared a message. "You're already here." The air grew thicker, and the reality around me began to fragment. Light bent and shattered into pieces, while gravity became more unstable. The walls disintegrated into floating shards of glass, and the sound of the thumping became a constant, deafening noise, as if the house itself was falling apart. I tried to scream, but my voice was distorted, as if it were being swallowed by the very space that was disintegrating. I knew there was no way out. The video wasn't just a recording, it was a portal, a force that was defying every law I knew. And the worst part was, it was now in control. When the screen flickered again, I felt something move behind me. A shadow approached, a shadow that didn't belong to the real world. It stretched, contorted, until it became a human shape, but with a face I recognized now. The face of the thing that had appeared in the video. It was standing right behind me, smiling. Subscribe now and hit the bell so you don't miss any. I turned to look at the computer screen, and the message flashed once more. "You're already here." And then, everything went dark. I woke up on the floor. I had no idea how much time had passed, but the feeling of losing control still haunted me. My body felt heavy, as if something had been crushing it for hours. My eyes were still fixed on the computer, which now displayed a blank screen. There was no face, no shadow, no presence, only emptiness. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of my body as though I were being crushed by some invisible force. Again. The screen was blank, but I could feel its presence. It was like the computer was breathing, alive with something I couldn't understand. The shadows around me seemed to shift in time with the video, mimicking its every movement. I wanted to shut it down, destroy it, but the video had already consumed me. There was no escaping it now. The air became thicker. My voice was nothing but a whisper in the void. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, they all seemed to be closing in on me. The video had trapped me here, and there was no way out. I could feel my mind unraveling piece by piece. The video wasn't just distorting the world, it was distorting me. I was no longer the person who had clicked that link. I was something else, something broken. I could feel myself slipping away, becoming part of the video, part of the nightmare that had begun when I first pressed play. If you're brave enough, share this video with your friends and challenge them to watch it. I couldn't fight it anymore. The video had won. I don't know how much time has passed. The concept of time no longer exists for me. The video, that cursed recording, has taken my mind, my body, my soul. There is no longer a line between what I knew and what the video has shown me. The house, the space, the air around me. It all merges with the images from that video, becoming an extension of it, a distortion that cannot be removed. When I looked at the computer screen one last time, a message appeared. It wasn't a typical message. It felt like a sentence, an inevitable truth. You will never escape. I tried to shut the computer down, destroy it, do anything to end it. But nothing worked. The video had transcended any technology. It had already settled inside me, following me wherever I went. The house no longer made sense. The streets I once knew were warped, as though the video had erased everything that existed outside this small space where I found myself. That's when I realized the house was closing in on me. Not physically, but in an existential way. The walls were bending, the air growing heavier, as if I were suffocating inside this warped space. The reality I had known was fading, and I could feel the video erasing it all. I was no longer just inside a house. I was inside the video. I looked around in desperation, but the doors and windows were gone. The house no longer looked like a house. The walls were shifting. The floor was cracking. Time itself seemed to bend and stretch, as if I were trapped in a loop. No matter which direction I ran, the space around me became more and more distorted. The longer I stayed, the more the video's grip tightened. I tried to warn people. I didn't know how, or if anyone would believe me, but the desperate need to tell others consumed me. But no one believed me. They saw my fear as just a delusion, as if I were just another victim of a fragile mind. But they didn't know. They didn't know what was happening to me. I saw what happened to those who took the risk of watching it. Some of them disappeared as if they simply vanished from existence. Others became hollow, their minds lost in a cycle of distortion and terror. The video wasn't just a recording. It was a curse, an echo of something older, something vast. And now, I know what happened. The video spread. It didn't need a screen anymore, a file. It was in the minds of everyone who had seen it. Every person who watched it was marked. The evil spread, like a virus, consuming everything it touched. And no one knew how to stop it. I know the video is still out there, somewhere, waiting for its next victim, waiting for another soul to consume. And when someone finds the file again, there will be no going back. The video never dies. It only waits. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you can still sleep after this. And now, as I write this, maybe you're the one reading it. Maybe you're the next. I can't go back anymore. I am part of this now, and so will you be.